Welcome to Conversations with Deborah, a bi-coastal dialogue. Bi-coastal, I'm in Los Angeles, and Deborah's in Greenville, South Carolina.
That's right, Greenville, South Carolina. This California native moved 5 years ago. So sure enough, I'm here and I'm very happy.
Yeah, but I think it's affecting your thinking.
Oh, stop it. So we both have different viewpoints. And that's one of the reasons that Malcolm and I decided to do this podcast. And it was funny because he used to be our radio news producer. My late husband and I did a financial program back in Los Angeles when we were there. And Malcolm called me and said, hey, we need to do something. And you have different points of view and I have different points of view. I think it's about time we kind of chat this up, because you certainly can't hear different points of view from the media, for heaven's sakes. So at any rate, but big news today, I got my second COVID vaccination shot and I couldn't be any more pleased. I must say that I work with a group, Prisma Hospital, and they used an old Kmart building, huge building. And I have to tell you, well organized, walked in there. I was in and out literally in 15 minutes. Sorry, that's our business phone.
Okay, you got to do business.
Now that we have our 2 shots, it looks like we're going to be able to actually go back and do the handyman business, if that's originally what my current husband was involved in. It's called Man Around the House. And I guess I shouldn't call him my current husband. You accuse me of
right. Say Kurt.
Third husband. No, I don't want another one. Although I like being married, I'll tell you. But the second shot.
By the way, as the Pope would say, Mazel Tov.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Anyway, how did the shot go?
It went fine. I was very surprised. The first shot, I'm very sensitive about shots and what have you. It felt like they were driving a pole into my arm, for heaven's sakes, but I didn't say anything. And it was a little bit painful, but for heaven's sakes, I'm glad to be able to have it. This second shot, though, nothing. I was very, very surprised. And there's really been no impact at all on the shot. My arm isn't sore as it was the first shot. And of course, they wanted you to sit down for 15 minutes in case there was any situation. Yeah. Everything was fine. And now South Carolina has opened it up to people 50 and above to get the shot, which I think is great. Thank heavens. We need the shot.
Yeah. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Hopefully it'll stay the same, because some people, it takes about a day to take effect, or to get those.
Did you have any side effects?
Not the first shot. The second shot I'm taking next Monday.
Interesting.
As I say, on my birthday. That's my birthday.
There you go. Happy birthday. Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. You're going to be you're all going to be 39 years old, aren't you?
Well, I was talking to someone. I don't give age anymore. Reason why? Good. Now, the reason why, when I say the age, it sounds old, because I know when I read in the newspapers and I read people at a certain age, they're old. And then I say, I'm 3 years older than that or something.
I know.
And because when I'm doing my activities, I don't visualize myself being old, only when someone says the number. Or sometimes when I wake up with my aches and pains.
Well, that's true. But I mean, I think a lot of people do, even if they're in their 20s, they have aches and pains. But I agree with you. I think that the word elderly, old, all of that, I mean, those are emotionally charged words.
It's funny. I like watching old movies. I mean, movies back in the silent movies, no, but the post-silent, I listen to a lot, and I listen to Turner Classic Movies.
The best.
Yeah, and it's funny because they talk about like these family men and they have children, and he says, "Well, I'm getting old and about ready to retire," and he turns out to be 50 years old.
I know.
I said, "Excuse me."
Well, a generation ago, even 2 generations ago, I remember my grandmother retiring at exactly age 63. And I remember looking at my grandma, and I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, she looked old, and she looked like, I guess, like the way a grandma's supposed to look. I don't know what that means, but you know what I'm saying. It just
Yeah.
things are different now, and it's the I think the medical advances. I think the fact that we're becoming more cognizant of exercise and of eating right. The one thing that you must say about COVID, it has forced us to stay inside and to eat at home. I know that for myself, we pretty much changed our way of eating. We're a lot more plant-based, although I'm not a vegetarian. Fish, my husband was a vegetarian, but we've pretty much changed the way we've been eating. A lot more salads, a lot more Brussels sprouts, spinach, a lot more beans, very little meat. So it's made a difference, and we've lost weight. Where a lot of people have gained weight, we've lost weight during the COVID. So there is a little bit of a shining star behind all of this, despite everything that's gone on.
Well, I still eat meats, because markets are right by us, so and it's not
There
that
you go.
difficult to go shopping. And my wife now has become well, she was a gourmet cook, but now she cooks everything. So
Beautiful.
I'm eating much better with, each time it's a new gourmet type of a dish.
That's wonderful.
Plus,
Now, did you eat out a lot before COVID?
no, for a simple reason. Right now, it's too damn expensive to eat out.
Yes. Isn't it
I
amazing?
mean, especially in my area in Sherman Oaks in Los Angeles.
Hmm.
You go out and between a tip and tax, you're spending $70-$80 for a meal for two. Plus, they charge you for parking. That's what I always hated that. Even
Well,
when
have they also started to add COVID taxes now? I'd heard that possibly in California.
no, I haven't had COVID taxes yet.
Oh, that's good.
But then again, I'm not
That's
going out to eat. So
There you
certain
go.
restaurants can, but well, the big joke is, somebody said, I didn't know hair weighed that much, because we're not taking haircuts. And they're saying,
That's right.
it doesn't weigh that much. He said, no, but I've gained 15 pounds. Actually, I've lost weight because now I walk in the morning, I go outside, there's a park right next door to me.
That's perfect.
And going one time around the track is 1.3 miles.
That's
So
not
I go any
bad.
place from 2 to 4 times around the track.
There you go. And it makes a difference.
Right. And then in my backyard, which one day I'll show you or you come over, I have
That'd be nice.
my son's bought me what the boxers have, the heavy bag
Yeah.
that I punch, and the
Mhm.
speed bag, which I go, and I have a pair
Very
of
nice.
boxing gloves. Plus I have a weight bench, which I've had for a long time. And
Nice.
then what's called the high tower, which you can do chins and dips.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And with that and the stretching, it takes me about 3 hours a day to do exercise. But
There you
there's no,
go. But you know what? It's keeping you healthy. It's
I don't
keeping
have
you
any,
healthy, and it's keeping you young.
it's keeping me achy. It's my arthritis. I'm not sure.
There you go.
I'm not sure sometimes whether it's good for me or it's not good for me,
No,
but I
actually,
enjoy
it's good
doing
for
it.
you. It's good for you. Well, here in Greenville, we're now really starting to feel spring. I'm about ready for it. I like the change in seasons. However, I must say, I'm getting a little tired of 26 degrees overnight and 40 degrees during the day. So I like the change in seasons, despite the fact I'm a native Californian. But what's so great about here in South Carolina is that the first breath of spring brings up the daffodils, brings up the irises, brings up the hyacinths. And I have to tell you, and you forget about the bulbs being planted. We did about 4 years ago when we got here, about 4 years ago, we started doing bulbs and one or two here and what have you. Well, I didn't, once again, being the stupid Californian that I am, I didn't realize that bulbs actually have kids and they will start to expand. And so one daffodil bulb suddenly is now up to 6 daffodil bulbs. Same thing with the irises. And it's really quite amazing. So you have all of this wonderful ground Nothing is green here, of course, because everything is deciduous because of the cold and what have you. And all of a sudden, you see these wonderful, bright yellow colors and the deep purples and the pinks of all of these bulbs that are coming up. It's just glorious. It's
Well, did
just
you
a
know that
revival.
March 14th, it will be, we're turning the clock ahead again?
Can you believe this? What is going on with these years? Yes, I will like. Now, do you like daylight savings, or would you like to keep it just standard time?
I like daylight savings.
I do
I,
too.
I,
I do.
I want it later in the, I hate when it gets dark at 5 o'clock or, I like when the day is longer. I don't mind waking up in the dark. As a matter of
I don't
fact,
either.
on my normal circumstances, when I do running or walking, I like,
Mhm,
my favorite time of the day is to wake up early when it's dark, put my running things on, go
mhm,
outside, do my running, and
mhm.
about 15, 20 minutes, I see the sun rising.
Oh,
It feels
yeah.
so good, to be at
Such a
the start of the day where they say what did they say, the crack of dawn?
the crack of dawn. But you know what? That period of time is just so special. It's time for you to gather your thoughts,
Right.
being by yourself and being able to watch as the day breaks is just it's magical. I do the same thing. We have a little bungalow here, a 1948 bungalow, little brick house that's here, and I'm able to sit in the living room, and it's up on top of the basement area. So we're up a little bit. I say 15, 20 feet on up because we're on a hill, and I can look out and see the birds coming out, the squirrels, and as the light starts to envelop the whole world, it's just
Start of
glorious.
start of a new day, a rebirth.
It is. It
That's
is.
when I drove cross country and I would start out, in the dark. After
Yeah.
we, went to a motel or something for the evening, I start
Mhm,
out at in dark, and as you're
mhm.
running, as you're driving, the sun comes out, and you feel, oh, this is what life's about.
It is. It is. It was funny when we came across country because it took us 6 days to get across country. We had a 16-foot Penske truck where we loaded all of our important belongings, and I was driving the little Honda Element with two cats, which was adorable. But I remember staying in Texas. We got up very early, and we were starting across the country because I was getting tired of driving. I just wanted to get to our new home. But I remember seeing the dawn breaking and seeing the windmills across. It seemed like hundreds of miles in Texas. These enormous windmills that generate the power. Of course, they didn't generate the power back in February when they had that terrible situation with the cold snap.
Right.
But it was just beautiful seeing the sun come up and the windmills that were moving.
Well,
So
that's one of my favorite songs, the Cat Stevens. Morning
mm,
has broken
yeah,
like the.
very nice.
I mean, I love that song,
I do too. I
and
do too.
it generates such good feelings.
It does. It
Now,
does.
now getting a little controversial.
What's
What do
that?
you think about Texas? I know as of yesterday, it was Texas and Mississippi has uh, said things are back to normal. No, you don't have to wear masks anymore. I think that's also no social separation, and everything can open up. What do you think about that judgment?
Well, I don't think that Americans are stupid. All right. I think that I know that since we have both Fish and I have had our second vaccine, we will probably continue to wear masks, even though here in South Carolina, they are loosening up things tremendously. They're allowing bars to stay open past 11 o'clock. They're opening up the schools. School kids are now going back to school. Everything is coming back to quote unquote normal. Um, I do think that it was a good idea to allow the individual states to make up their own minds rather than having it mandated by the federal government, because the feds, frankly, don't know their head from a hole in the ground. And I think the individual states can make that decision. All that being said, I know that we have relatives in Texas, and my stepdaughter is feeling as though she will continue to wear a mask, as will her boyfriend. And that's fine. They're happy to have it open. And in fact, I do believe that the best cure for this situation economically is to have the states reopen as they need to go ahead and reopen. Interestingly enough, Connecticut has joined the group as well. And that was kind of a surprise because they had lockdown as hard as any group. So having Texas, Mississippi, and having Connecticut open, I think it's a good idea. But I don't think that people are stupid enough to be running around, stark naked without their masks on and doing crazy things. I think this has been serious enough that Americans can make up their own minds at this point.
Yeah, but I have a question for you. How about if you're in a common area, that everybody goes, a supermarket or a department store or something, and half the people aren't wearing masks. Now it's no longer a decision only that they make. Now they're affecting you. They're affecting the people who want to wear masks. Or how about stores that say you have to wear masks? That's our store policy. It's private property and the store policy. And people come in and say, no, we're Americans. We can do what we want. We don't have to wear a mask.
Well, I guess I'm very independent about things. I do believe that in a situation, if you are very, very concerned, don't go to the supermarket. Have it delivered. We certainly have those options available. If you're that concerned, then simply have it delivered or wear your own mask. That's perfectly fine. In this case where a store would not allow someone to come in without a mask, I hate to tell you, I would go away from that store if I didn't want to wear a mask. We have stores here in Greenville. In fact, I just picked up some spices because, as I say, I'm doing my own home cooking now, thanks to Gordon Ramsay's cookbook. And I went on in and they said masks are required. Fine, I'm wearing a mask, all right? I announced to them I got my second vaccination and that I should be perfectly fine. They want to have masks. That's perfectly fine. If they refuse to have me come into the store, then once again, that's their prerogative. I'll go to another spice store, for heaven's sakes. So I think these mandates, these conflicts that we seem to be wanting to get ourselves into, just don't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Do you think that most of the people are as reasonable as you? I mean, you always, I don't know whether the news is broadcasting it more, but you always see people who don't want to wear the mask and say, you're taking away my freedom.
Well, I think that a lot of it is sensationalized, to be very honest with you. And I've noticed that, for example, when we go shopping now, and we go to Costco, we go to Walmart, Publix, Harris Teeter, which is a local supermarket here. I would say about half the people do not wear masks. Okay, that is their prerogative. Fish and I are continuing to wear masks. And I do think, though, that news seems to have a tendency of sensationalizing people who don't want to wear masks or do want to wear masks. I also do it partially out of respect for other individuals. Do I think that most people are reasonable? Well, I wish I could say most people are reasonable, although I must say that lately it seems like people have gone a little bit nuts. But I do think that it's also spurred on by the news media. I think for the most part, when you look around, and I think you can agree, Malcolm, your neighbors are common sense folks. Our neighbors are common sense folks. We work things out. And once again, I don't want the government telling me what to do. I think that they should advise me as to what to do. But telling me, mandating it, no, not going to do it.
Well, so you don't think they should tell you to wear your seatbelt when you're on the road?
No. That's a whole different issue. That's a whole different issue. I think at this point right now that especially that COVID is being used as a weapon against a lot of freedoms. And I do get very concerned when, for example, we've got this 1.9 billion trillion, whatever it is, the $1 trillion, $1 trillion stimulus bill that's coming out, because I think the impact on the labor force is going to be quite detrimental. And by that, I mean, I know individuals, personally, I know individuals in various states that are saying, I'm not going to go back to work because guess what? Government is paying me not to go back to work. And now you have employers. I mean, we're starting to see hiring signs going out. And I think you're seeing that throughout the country. Employers can't seem to find employees that want to come back to work. And why is that? Because once again, the government is paying them, the employees, not to work. Now, this is nothing that's new. We've already seen this with the two, the last administration, the administration before that, the Biden-Obama administration. We had basically 8 years of an economy that just dragged on because, once again, we were giving excess money to people who decided they want to sit on the couch rather than going off and working. And that's why we didn't have an economy that was as vibrant as what we saw this last 4 years.
I don't know what numbers you're reading, but I know McConnell said we're not gonna. I'm going to vote against the $1,400 stimulus package. Why? Because people aren't going to work. Who the hell can even if you got $1,400 at one time only? It's
well,
monthly.
It's not just no. It's not just the $1,400. They've at least reduced the unemployment from $400 a week down to $300 a week, but they have extended it all the way through until September. And I know this is only just 1 or 2 stories, but I do know individuals who have decided they're not going to go back to work. Why? Because they're making more money as being unemployed.
At $300 a week?
No. They have excess money that's coming in, plus the $1,400, plus the $600 that they got. And I mean, I asked this individual, how much money have you managed to save? This individual who works basically as a server has basically about $10,000 in the bank. This individual did not have $10,000 in the bank to begin with. So I only know this because this is a personal friend. And I know it's only one story, but bottom line is you have employers that are screaming to get employees back, but they can't get them back because once again, the government has interfered with the free market. And there's jobs out there. There is safety that's out there. We're coming up to herd immunity at this point, but you can't keep sending people unemployment checks not to work when in fact there are jobs available. And there are jobs available.
The jobs that are really wanting are the people of high-tech jobs, which they can't find qualified employees for. The jobs that I think they'll always have people that are going to be servers over at McDonald's or the fast food places or work in the supermarkets, but they ain't making that much to support a family. I haven't met anybody that's, oh yeah, we're getting our $10 an hour and that's plenty for us. And I haven't met anybody either that would, that's the old thing of why welfare wasn't good, because they were paying women to have children. But I mean, somebody, as you say, if you think most people are good, most people aren't going to want to be supported by the government. And they want to, have a self-pride. If you're speaking, as you said, that most people are good.
Well, I'm hoping that most people are good. Of course, I've sometimes been called a Pollyanna about things, but I was surprised that this particular individual, who I had always thought was pretty much a go-getter, and is not a go-getter, is a go-sitter-downer. And as I say, it's only one individual. It's one simple story. But it's something that we're starting to see now. In fact, here in Greenville, there are numbers. We walked up and down Main Street today after I got my spices and talked with many of the employers that were looking for people. And they're dying to have people to come. They need help, but they're not getting people wanting to get off the couches. And that's a real problem.
Well, maybe they're not paying enough.
Well, that's the beauty of free market. You have to pay people enough. I know that when I had my firm, Great Western Capital in Fountain Valley, the minimum wage at that point was sitting at around $7, $8 an hour. And I paid $20 an hour. And I did that because I wanted to have premium employees. And what did I get? I got premium employees. That's what free market does. I wanted the best, I got the best, and I paid for it. But guess what? I went ahead and also made sure that we had profit sharing as well. So they understood that, for example, answering the phone, because we did loans and we did accounting business and all kinds of financial planning, and being on top of things and being there on time and working long hours paid off, and it does. If an employer is stupid enough to want to be able to abuse his employees or her employees, they're going to find out. And that's the one thing that we have as individuals. We have the ability to say, "Fongul to you," and leave the job and go someplace else.
Yeah, but a
We're
lot of
not
people,
married to an employer.
yeah, but a lot of people don't have that flexibility is saying goodbye, because even though they're making minimum wage, which it's hard for them to exist, they have no other choice. It's they do not have the skills or the education to get a better job for better money.
And where are there, what other great place to be able to get the skills and the education than here in the United States of America?
I agree.
Why are millions and millions of people now coming up from the South into the border, which is, I guess, our next topic of discussion. So now that we have open borders,
We don't have
once
open. We
again,
don't have open borders.
yes,
We
we
have open
do.
borders if
Because
you listen to KFOX, to
no.
Fox.
I'm not listening to any news at this point right now. I'm reading the Wall Street Journal. I'm reading the New York Times. I'm reading Epic News. And in fact, Biden has opened up and has said to ICE, you are not to go ahead and enforce any type of detention. And in fact, remember the cages that Trump was accused of putting the children into?
Right.
Uh-huh. Well, they're now been renamed camps. And I have a question to ask as well, is that what type of an individual would force a young child across the border? So in order to be able to be that as the linchpin to be able to bring the rest of the family into the United States, the number of unaccompanied minors being forced across the border, it's unbelievable. And we're allowing at this point right now, those young children now have to be quote unquote reunited with their family who happen to be in Guatemala or El Salvador or Mexico.
But yeah, but the unaccompanied minors that were put into, you say, cages or were cages with Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I said the word. Anyway, they were separated from their parents. They came with their parents. They weren't necessarily unaccompanied.
I hate to tell you,
their parents.
I hate to tell you, but the reality is that unfortunately, their parents are allowing the children to come across the border unaccompanied. And the way the law works at this point right now, thanks to President Biden, is now that those children can be the linchpin to bring the rest of the family to quote unquote reunite the rest of the family because of the minor kids being here in the United States. Malcolm, this doesn't make any sense. Not only that, we're in the midst of still a pandemic and we're not requiring that we have COVID tests for any of these
Well,
people.
according to what I heard, they did. They weren't letting people past a certain area that weren't tested. But
no, it's Greyhound Bus is saying that we won't allow people onto the buses unless they've been negative as a COVID.
But the question I have, again,
yeah,
I always was raised that we are the land of liberty, that people came to us. I believed what they said on the Statue of Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
I believe that people that are either from war-torn countries, that or people from South and Central America now, basically, and I know a lot of people who their lives were threatened by gangs,
mm-hmm.
or the government is tyrannical, and
mm-hmm.
basically they came to America to flee from that, to come
mm-hmm.
to the land of the free. And at
mm-hmm.
one time, our land was open,
mm-hmm.
but only for the right people.
Well, I must say, I would prefer not to have gang members here in the United States, and they're being allowed in. I would also prefer.
Not if they're gang members.
They are not enforcing the law, my dear. They are not enforcing the law. They are not detaining criminals. And in fact, they are actually people who have been rejected by the immigration courts are now being given airplane tickets to come across back into the United States so that they can have their cases then re-looked at. I agree.
That's something I think I don't,
agree with the Statue of Liberty.
yeah, I don't know if you're right, but because there's so much misinformation going around. Because I mean, during the election, it was, we're going to have open borders and everybody could come through. That wasn't true. I mean, there's stories about that. There were still requirements.
What are the requirements?
Well, the requirement was when they came over and they had a case was adjudicated. Of course, there wasn't enough courts to adjudicate these cases. But
so they then at this point right now are catching them and releasing them.
Well, but I have to go back to see what they're doing now, because from what I heard is that there are certain requirements for people to come in. It's not the open borders, and I've never heard it where gangbangers were let in if they knew what about, and I never knew when even with ICE that if they caught a gangbanger, he was let go.
Well, let's go back to the whole idea of the Statue of Liberty. I agree with that, but I also agree that it is a privilege to be able to be here in the United States. It is not a given right, and that you need to contribute. Now, in terms of the situation with getting welfare, listen, I understand people get into trouble, but to come here without having any skills, without having the ability to be able to give some benefit to the United States rather than immediately going on to welfare, there's something wrong with people coming in to this country and immediately going on to welfare. That's not right. That's not the type of people that we need to have in the United States.
I know, but what do you do? Because the people who want to come in here are poor people. The ones that are escaping.
You need to have skills.
But they didn't have skills in their old country. Probably.
So we're supposed to support the rest of the world. We can't afford to do that.
Well, that's what we do through education.
Well, interestingly enough, even like this $1.9 trillion bill, they're going to have cuts. Did you realize we're now going to have cuts in Medicare? That impacts you and me. We're going to have cuts in Medicare, people who have worked hard here in the United States all their lives, and now we're going to be cutting some of their medical care. I don't understand.
We're getting back to this whole argument of what Trump did with the reduction of the taxes. Of course,
you said it again. You said the word again.
Sorry. But what he did by the men who shall remain nameless, what he did when he cut back the corporate taxes, a lot of those taxes have to be made up other ways. So now the corporations don't have to pay, but we have to pay. But I don't want to get into that. I just want.
You don't want to talk over. You don't want to talk about it.
I want to talk about the good things that are happening, but you know something? We ran out of time.
Oh no.
Yeah, another half hour is gone, and our lovely audience has been privy to our debates. But as I say, the funny thing about you is that as a person, I disagree with your philosophy on things, but as a person, as you do personally, I applaud.
And I applaud you as well. And you know what? We can, all of us, get along, and we need to. We need to.
We definitely can talk.
We can. And we can come to solutions, because we need to have the yin and the yang. We need to have Democrats and Republicans. We need to have different points of view to hash out the best compromises.
I mean, the thing that I get involved about, if you see some of my other shows, is climate change. Because I think no matter how much we debate things and how we do it, if we're not going to take care of climate change, no matter what we do, the world's going to end.
I think we are. I think we are starting to take care of climate change. I think it's coming about.
I'm doing. I have two shows on now. The Many Shades of Green, and there's a show that I have that you might be interested. It's called
What's that?
Sid and Malcolm, and it's Sid is raising food for the people who are hungry. And
You
he's been
told
doing,
me that. That is
you have to
marvelous.
see the show, and he's a lovely man, and he had an epiphany. Literally,
What's
when
that?
he had when he was with his father was a Holocaust survivor,
Oh my. Oh my.
and they were at the Western Wall in Israel,
Oh, wow.
and both of them had like lightning struck them. They had an epiphany that they have to do something to feed the hungry, and both of them didn't speak to each other. I mean, both of them had it at the same time, and the father went to the son and said, "Did you feel what I felt?" And both of them felt the same thing.
How
Since then,
interesting.
they're pursuing the destiny, and I think that was like 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and they fed over 1 billion people.
You know, stranger things than heaven and earth.
But
It's
anyway,
true.
my dear, send my love to
Uh,
fish. And tomorrow,
Absolutely.
next week, let's talk what's happening with your the fish gallery.
That sounds great.
Okay.
We have our presentation before the Metropolitan Arts Commission. I told you that we've been invited to come back to do our presentation.
Right.
So I'll let you know how it goes. I believe it should be Wednesday, Thursday.
Oh.
So we should have some word on Friday. Okay,
If I can help you with anything, let me know.
oh, you're the
Let's say,
best. Thanks so much, Malcolm.
let's do our show on that big board.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Anyway, have a great weekend.
My best to Anna and your whole family.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.